Hey there, this is Kevin Pascal, and you're tuned in to the Hinted Neuron podcast. Today on the show, I'm joined by Michael, also known as Lunamic. I don't want to give him away, but he's been known to be this very creative rap artist, and so just stick around and enjoy my conversation with him about creativity and criticism. So let's talk about your name first of all, Lunamic, because I used to know you as Micheal. So what inspired the change? What's behind the name?
Okay, Lunamic is basically the evolution of Michael. The growth. Lunamic is I was going through a couple of stuff, trying to understand who I was and how my life played out. And my life itself is rooted in music. Like everything that I do in terms of music, from my relationship with God to my physical attributes. And Mike L did not really understand the direction he was supposed to take. So we can call Mike L the scalar quantity. Lunar Mike is Lunar Mike is the vector. He was the one that understood the displacement and what what to do at that point in time. So Lunar Mike goes for growth. Lunar Mike goes for positivity. Lunar Mike is all about the rage, as some of my guys would know, or some of my fanatics will understand that. For me, it's always about the rage in love and light. That's all I believe in.
That's well put. I mean, that's a lot to unpack, but that's nice. So
Yeah.
I think we should step back for a bit and then talk about what creativity is, if we could define it in your own sense. What do you think? Is it a subjective thing that we can't define, that it could mean different things, or is it something that we could define objectively, that we could point to that this is creative or this isn't?
Okay. 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 I would say like creativity in itself is is an objective. It is objective based on the fact that it is recognizable. When somebody does something creative, they recognize it. Now, how you can interpret it, now that's subjective. For me, if I create music now, it is very well known objectively that I'm a creative person because I have created art. But the interpretation of my sound will be different to everybody, or will be different to some individuals because of the subjective experience it carries. Some people might relate, some people might not relate. This is why some people have fans and some people have other fans. And this is why there are so many genres in the music world. Since I'm just basing out the music now. In the music world, that's why there are so many genres.
Let's talk about art in art generally now. Yeah, because I wrote an article one time. I was of the opinion that there is no bad art. That since art is kind of subjective, you can't measure it in a way. And because you can't measure how good or bad it is for the creative ability of who created that art.
Yeah, true. For me, like I believe like you are very correct because good or bad in itself is very relative. So and like I said before, art, music is a type of art, but art itself generally is recognized objectively as being creative, but has subjective experiences to everybody. So what is good for you may be bad for another person. This is why I'll show a couple of my friends the other day. I was showing a couple of my friends the other day a Picasso painting and a Victor Van Gogh painting, and they were wondering why it was so expensive, because to them it was like shit, or like it was trash. They did not see what other people saw that gave it value. Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand you.
Yes.
That's well put. That's well put. And because now when you said that word, like people say it was trash. That in itself is some kind of criticism. We could have like positive or negative criticism. And
Yes.
maybe we should dwell around that criticism part a bit. Do you
Okay.
think, right? Do you think that to make good art, you need to be criticized?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Why are you an artist in the first place? Like for me as a person, why did you dabble in art in the first place? I believe the reason we dabbled in art in the first place is to facilitate growth. People enter or people go into like my type of art, if we're talking about my type of art, for different reasons. But the most tangible reason for me is growth facilitation. And if you are there for growth facilitation, obviously you need criticism. But if you are there for just fame, I don't think all those people would likely take criticization because they are not there for the right reasons. That's what I believe.
Okay, now let's jump back a bit to the broad aspect of creativity.
Okay.
Now, I want to understand if how nature how nature or nurture plays a role in
In
creativity.
creativity.
Which one plays the biggest role, if you think plays the biggest role, or do they play the same role in
They
creativity?
create this, to me, I believe they create this yin and yang effect. Is a balance. In you need, some people have it in them, and then they need a particular environment to be able to express it. Because I feel like you cannot have music in yourself and not be able to express it if you are not given the right environment. It will just be like dormant. You need a well placed environment and somebody that is already inclined with music to be able to be, let's just say, the ideal artist. But these days, we don't really, I would say personally, these days, we don't really see an ideal artist like that. To me, I feel like there's a balance. That's what to me, because like, is it not? I feel like artists. What attracts an artist? What makes you want to be an artist? Is it a natural inclination, or is it the environment? I feel like it's the best of both worlds. It is mostly the environment on normal occasions. It's mostly the environment, because if we look at individuals like Michelangelo and DiCaprio, that's it, DiCaprio, Da Vinci, they the art form or the creative form was based solely on the environment, solely on that environment. Creativity itself was based solely on that environment. A technologist right now, because I believe that like people that design cars, they are creatives too are now, is based, the way they create their own sort of like art is mostly on this environment, in this environment, or in this current context or culture. So art is based on the culture and on the context. That is why art is always dynamic, but it's also a classic form.
So I guess what you're saying is that as a person, as a creative, there's this level of creativity you might not be able to unlock just because of the environment you're in.
Yes, I can say particular to a particular level, yes. You cannot, there are certain places that you'll be in that will, let's say, underestimate or like bring down your level of art form. You need to be opened in some particular places before some particular doors in your mind open. But that does not mean that those doors are not there. The doors are there, they are inborn, they are in you, but you need the environment to open it when it comes to creativity.
Okay, I think you put it very well. Now, because we know we are very familiar with this concept of starving artist as a creative, so I want to know if standard of living affects creativity in any way or in any sense. Like, why do we have some people who believe that you have to like constrain yourself in a particular way. So because though I'm a big believer in the fact that creativity requires constraint, but does standard of living affect creativity in any way?
In some cases, yes. In some cases, yes. I believe so. Because like if I'm poor, if I'm hungry, it will hinder, in some cases, it will hinder my form or my true form of creativity. But there are other cases where we have seen that even in spite of all these constraints, these individuals shine. That's why I always say that we should not always cut out the natural or believed versions of what we would call inclined or inborn genes or of artistry, if I can put it that way. Because even in terms of those constraints, even when the environment doesn't feel like it is it is it is encouraging for artists, some artists still bring out their best or what is perceived to be their best.
You know, we all have this friend or creative that sends us their work, to create awareness for them. And maybe there are few or major things that are wrong with that art at the moment, and you want to tell them that it's not up to taste. You can't, because you don't want to be the person to share bad work. You want to share
Mhm.
good creative work that you feel is nice for other people will enjoy. And you want to tell them, but you can't actually just give it off like that. Just you will not be seen as an hater. This
Yeah,
bothers me in a way because for not everybody can be the same. Not everybody can accept criticism the way others can. I don't know whether
yeah,
you've been in that position before where you would have had to like tell someone this is where someone shares their work and then you have to like objectively criticize it. How do we objectively criticize art in that sense? I guess that's what I'm trying to see, trying to ask.
okay. Can we actually objectively criticize art? When it comes to criticism, criticizing art itself, can we objectively do it? Because our opinions themselves are subjective to us. It only becomes like it's only unless it is an absolute thing. Like this is complete trash. Is it possible that everybody will see the art form as complete trash? That's the question. If we can answer that question, then then yes, then yes. Okay, the question is, can we actually judge art objectively? You feel like we can judge art objectively?
Like, is there a way to do it? Do you feel we can do it in a way that we are not called haters?
I don't believe like there is you can objectively judge art. I don't believe, but you can say it assertively. There's an assertive way of saying things. I can actually, as a friend, if I want to tell you that your music isn't up to par, let's just not say it's trash because to some people it might be good. We can say it assertively. We don't really, and it also depends on the person too, because is the person how does the person take criticism? Is the person insecure about his art? Is the person What is the person here for? Is it to facilitate growth? That's why I always go back to that question. Is it to facilitate growth? People that are here to grow in the creative system will always take criticism, no matter how raw it is. But what they do as individuals, or what I do as a person when it comes to judging my art form, I I I feel like there is a relative structure. If somebody is saying something about your art form, it should be true. It should have some kind of sense of truth, some kind of entirety of truth in it. Like if he said that I didn't hear this particular flow or this particular flow was wobbly, you as an artist, you at some point you'll have noticed it. Maybe at the end of the mixing or the mastering, you'll have noticed it, but maybe you deliberately decided to ignore it. He, that person that listened and is actually out for your growth, will bring it out. He will like bring it forth that this um this is the problem with this music and this is what you have to do. The moment you can relate to what the person is saying, then you can take up that criticism and use it for yourself. You can assimilate that criticization and also, well, it's all about filter. You have to, as an artist to the critic, it's all about filter. You have to know what is actually good for you, what kind of criticization is good for you, and what is just actually meant to bring you down. And and as the critic, you also have to be assertive when you are criticizing an artist, especially if he's insecure with his art form.
You put it very well. Now, when as a creative person in whether in art, in science, in any kind of creative endeavor, maybe for you personally, is there a standard by which you judge yourself?
Yes, yes. Is The standard is, most of the time for me, I judge based on the people I look up to in the art world or in my own set. People like Kendrick Lamar, people like Travis Scott, their sound, their tone, their flow, people like Eminem, their expression, how they progress on the beat, the BPMs, all that kind of stuff. I look up to that sound. If I don't have that particular sound, I don't believe that I'm up to par. So if I don't sound like that level of quality, I don't believe I'm up to par.
Okay. So then at what point do we now feel we've grown past this standard? We need to change the standard or do away with the standard or any kind of standard that maybe you might now even believe that you are now the standard. At what point in a creative person's journey do they when I don't know when does that click that okay, you need to now do away with these standards?
Okay. Okay. To Now, that's actually the question, because for me as a person, do I cannot actually do away with that standard, because when I've actually reached the standard, it is still something that brought me up. I don't believe I will be able to do away with it, because it will always be like a dictionary for me. It will always be a reference. Even if I have so many people that have also influenced with my sound, I will still look up to a Kanye sound any day, anytime, because artists like, or the creatives that I have looked up to are also dynamic. They are not in one position, they are not static. As I am growing, they are growing also. And I have to constantly keep learning from them.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
that's cool. You very well put.
yeah, so I cannot really grow. It will always, to me, it will always be a standard to me.
Cool. So where do you find meaning in your own life? Is it through the what you create, through the art you create, or some other kind of things in your own life? Where do you find meaning in your life?
And like I said before, through the art I create, it has affected me. The art I create has affected me holistically, from the spirit, mind, and body. Like, like my physical attributes over the last few years have changed. inclined to the kind of music I want to create. Also my mind too, how I talk too. Like every single time I speak or every single time I want to express, it is rooted to music. To me, I don't feel like I can live without it. I don't, I can't imagine my life without music. It is like a life source to me now.
Well put. Well put. So because you said something, so it struck me because because maybe creativity is now like part of your own subconscious. So how do you feel like your dreams, or I don't know, your irrational thoughts while you are sleeping? I don't know if they've ever played a big role, or they keep playing a big role in your creative journey.
My subconscious, yes. Yes, they do. Now, I don't know if I'm the one playing a big role to my subconscious or if my subconscious is playing a big role to me. But most of the times, when I go or when I sleep, I if like when I sleep, it's still like the music is still not over. There are some times that I have dreams of me still thinking about things to freestyle with in my mind. So I don't know if it is due to the environment. I believe it's like I have seen the environment. This is what I believe. I've been around the music environment so much, it plays in my subconscious. It plays in my irrational thoughts. So is now like music is now like a reflex for me. If I pick up a pen, there was a time I would pick up a pen and I would have to count the beats to be able to like fabricate a flow or a particular flow. But these days, I pick up a I pick up a pen and it's like it moves by itself. Yes, I'm thinking, but I don't need to count the beats to understand. It's more like irrational for me now. I don't need to think about it. It's just an expression.
That's very interesting because me and Taiwo, we had this discussion at the first episode of this podcast about dreams and irrationality and how they could play a big role in our creativity. And I think you confirmed some of our assumptions and what we talked about. So we are getting close to the end of this conversation, but I want to ask this very, very important question: if there is a limit to human creativity and imagination.
Do you believe that? I do not believe that there's a limit to the human imagination. From things that, yeah, I don't believe that there's a limit to human imagination. Well, like we have all seen what we human beings have created in the last few years. Have you ever opened a science fiction book before based on
Yeah,
time
sure,
travel?
sure.
Time constraints like the butterfly effect, um, um, the creation of, like, some of us even believe that we created particular gods with our minds. So like I don't feel like there is a limit to the human imagination. It's wild. I don't think you can cage something that wild. It's just too wild. It wow, it's amazing. Me thinking about it now is like, if they said like the human imagination should be interpreted into like physicality, the we would literally like become gods. Because if they say that we should, by anything we think of, it will be, or our thoughts will become actions, or our thoughts will become the thoughts we have every day when we think about ambiguous stuff, becomes a solid form or a solid expression on the earth. We would literally become like gods. because and I feel like everywhere will be unstructured because of how the human imagination is will be like it will be so warped. Do you like if you open up the dark things that people think of, the I don't even like let's not even go there because that we can that's the only thing that we cannot, I feel, as people, we cannot limit. We cannot limit what we imagine.
I think you put it very well, and that's like very, 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 very smart. So my last question for you today is, how do you create? I mean, you are a creator. That's what you literally do. You create. How do you create?
Man, like there's it's not like because like talking about the human imagination a few seconds ago, it's just like that. Like you can't there's no for me there's no particular way I create. It can come from anything at any time. Somebody can just say something and I can just have this inspiration and boom, I go and I write a couple of bars. I can see somebody else create something and I get inspired to create. I can hear a particular sound and I get inspired to create. I looked at the reason for my name, Lunamic, was because of the emblem my family supposedly has. The Osuolale, that's my son name. Oshu is the moon, and Oshu normally is the month, but the month, the way we count months in Yoruba is using the moon, right? So that is where Luna came from. An emblem in my family. I express, I recognize. That came out from, if I tell you how it came out, how it came to be or where it came from, it's, we will not finish today. So like my creations, like, there's no particular, there's no particular way I create.
I
I don't
think
have a particular form of creation.
that's very interesting, because if you talk to some creative people like artists, people who draw, people who in any kind of creative field anyway, they just tell you it was not them, that it came, like it just came to them, like something told them. And I think for some artists or creative people, that like takes away the ego, because they feel like they were not the one who created it, like
Oh,
it was given to them, like
them.
that was how they got what they created, that something told them, or so they saw it somehow, or I don't know. And
Yes,
that was very
and
interesting.
yeah, we cannot like I cannot rule out that part because yes, there are some times that some things will just pop in your head from nowhere. Like where did it come from? Or it feels like sometimes when I write, I feel like when I was explaining that irrational thinking to you, sometimes when I write, I feel like I'm not the one writing because I'm shocked at what I wrote. I'm like, wow, that's not every time, just a few times when I write. But yeah, I cannot rule out the fact that people can actually get stuff from what is supposedly believed to be spirits or some outer form of high power. So yes, because that is the whole. If you've heard of Fela, that is the whole concept of the Fela Shrine and Fela's music. Apart from the consciousness of Fela's music, he believes that the spirits are the ones that bring the message to him. That is why he was so stubborn in expressing his art form to the people. And this is why he's a legend now. So we cannot rule it out. I cannot rule it out because I believe that they are spirits and these spirits interact with us. So from time to time.
That's very interesting. And Michael, I've really enjoyed our conversation with you today, and I've learned a lot of new things about creativity and criticism.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
would you
Thank
have any
you.
final thing to say for our listeners?
Um, I'll I'll just say this, like, just support any creative around you, whatever they are doing. If they have this view, you recognize passion when you see it. You recognize passion when you see it. When somebody really wants to do something, when there's mad drive. So even if it seems like objectively among, because everything is about game of number here. That's how we create objections, right?
Yeah,
Or objective standards. Even if a couple of people came together and said like this music is trash, or this music is not, or this art form is not up to par, we should try and just encourage, or assertively teach, or assertively criticize the individual's art form. Because because yes, how I learned to grow was people saying that, oh, Michael, your music is trash. When I started, it was like that. It was a couple of people who say, Michael, what are you saying? Like, why we can't hear what you say when you rap? Like, you're saying trash. And me, I believe as much as people want to bring you down, there's always a truth in things they say. So I just speak out what I need for myself, and I expand on it. I grow. And also I also accepted the positive, because this art thing is like going to the gym. You need that negative, you need that pain to grow. Or the pain is a sign of growth. That's what me I believe. And we should, but we should just try to be assertive. As for critics, so, and for creatives, we should strive for growth. We should strive for growth. We should not shy from criticism, because criticism plays a big role in creativity. Yeah, that's it.
I really appreciate your thoughts and the time you took to join us today. And I really hope people learn one or two things from what we talked about today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey there, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Lunamic today. And if you like this episode, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. Leave us a review with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to share these episodes with your friends or family if they listen to podcasts as well. Thank you very much.